Maybe we can move to another state, Chrissy suggested. I hear Nebraska is nice. Lots of corn. No ropers. When they finally slunk back to the apartment at 11 p.m., they found Roper waiting for them in the hallway. But he wasn't angry. He was holding a small, yellow slip of paper. There you are, Roper said. I've been looking for you all night. Mr. Roper, Jack started. About the rent. What about it? Roper asked. I got it right here. They all stopped. You have it. Yeah, Roper said. I came up yesterday to fix that leaky sink in the kitchen. I saw the envelope on the trash can. I figured you left it there for me so I wouldn't have to disturb you. Very thoughtful. He handed Jack the yellow slip. Here's your receipt. I always leave a receipt. I'm a professional. Jack looked at the receipt. It was real. The rent was paid. You took it from the trash can? Jonna asked, her voice faint. Waste not, want not. Roper chuckled. Anyway, since you're so ahead of schedule, I thought I'd invite you all to dinner tomorrow night. My treat. Helen's making her special surprise stew. We'd love to, Mr. Roper, Jack said, leaning against the wall with relief. We'd absolutely love to. As Roper headed back downstairs, the three roommates stepped into their apartment and closed the door. He had it the whole time, Chrissy whispered. We called the police on ourselves. Jonna groaned. Jack looked at the cookie jar on the floor. He picked it up and put it back on the shelf. Well, he said, a grin slowly returning to his face. At least we know one thing for sure. What's that? Paragraph 9. The landlord is always watching, even when he's just fixing the sink. Come and knock on our door. Chrissy started humming. Don't, Jack and Jonna said together. But as they settled onto their brick-hard orange sofa, they couldn't help but laugh. It was just another week in Santa Monica, and as long as they had each other and a landlord who occasionally mistook the trash for a mailbox, they were doing just fine. Chapter 12. The New Day. The Santa Monica sun rose again, casting long shadows across the boardwalk. In apartment 201, the smell of burnt toast and cheap coffee signaled the start of a new day. Jack was in the kitchen. Jonna was checking her plants, and Chrissy was searching for her other fluffy slipper. Life was messy, the rent was high, and their secret was always one slip-up away from discovery. But as Jack looked at the girls, he realized he wouldn't trade it for anything. Hey, guys, Jack called out. Anyone want to go to the beach? Only if we don't have to fix the couch first, Jonna said. Deal? Jack laughed. And so, the three of them headed out into the bright California light, ready for whatever misunderstanding the world had in store for them next. End of episode novelization. Three's Company, the novel. Volume 1, Secrets, Sunsets, and Santa Monica. Chapter 1, The Golden State of Deception. The sun over Santa Monica didn't just shine. It hung in the sky like a persistent landlord, demanding attention and baking the stucco walls of the apartment complex on 101st Street into a pail. Dusty ochre. It was the mid-1970s, an era defined by bell-bottoms, the faint scent of patchouli, and a cultural revolution that was still trying to figure out if it was okay for a man to share an apartment with two women without the world imploding. In apartment 201, the air was thick with the smell of cheap hairspray and the lingering aroma of Jack Tripper's experimental breakfast souffle that had reached for the stars but ultimately settled for a modest, pancake-like existence. Jack stood in the small, avocado-colored kitchen, wiping a smudge of flour from his forehead. He was a man of many talents, most of them involving the culinary arts and an uncanny ability to trip over flat surfaces. But his greatest talent, the one that kept a roof over his head, was the elaborate charade he maintained for the benefit of Mr. Stanley Roper, the man who owned the building and whose worldview was roughly as flexible as a cast-iron skillet. To the world, or at least to the Ropers, Jack Tripper was a man who preferred the company of men. It was a lie born of necessity. When Jonna Wood and Chrissy Snow had found Jack passed out in their bathtub after a particularly legendary party, they hadn't just found a third roommate to help pay the $300 rent. They had found a problem. Mr. Roper wouldn't allow a red-blooded American male to live with two single girls. And so, the alternative Jack was born. "Jack, have you seen my blue scarf?" Jeanette's voice cut through his reverie. She marched into the living room, her face a mask of organized chaos. Jeanette was the anchor of the trio, a sensible florist who managed her life with the same precision she used to prune a prize-winning hydrangea. "Check the sofa, Jan. I think it's being held hostage by the springs," Jack replied, leaning against the counter. Chrissy Snow followed close behind, moving with a breezy, slightly disjointed grace that always made Jack wonder if she was hearing a different soundtrack to life than everyone else. Chrissy was a secretary, a woman of immense kindness and a logic that existed in a different dimension. "I found it," Chrissy exclaimed, holding up a piece of fabric. "Oh, wait, this is a dish towel, but it's blue. Maybe you could wear this." Jonna sighed, a sound of practiced patience. "Thanks, Chrissy, but I don't think a grease-stained towel is the look I'm going for at the shop today." As the girls scrambled to prepare for their day, the floorboards beneath them creaked with a rhythmic, heavy thud. It was a sound they all recognized. The beast was stirring below. Chapter 2. The Jailer of 101st Street. Downstairs, in the Roper residence, the atmosphere was considerably less vibrant. Stanley Roper sat at the small kitchen table, staring with profound disappointment at a bowl of lukewarm oatmeal. Stanley was a man whose fashion sense had peaked in 1954 and stayed there, consisting mostly of patterned short-sleeved shirts and a permanent expression of being slightly offended by the modern world. His wife, Helen, was his polar opposite. She was a woman of vibrant appetites and sharp wit, trapped in a marriage that had long since entered a state of Cold War stalemate. Her hair was often encased in rollers, and her eyes were always searching for a spark of excitement that Stanley seemed determined to extinguish. "Filing my nails is going to wake up your niece?" Helen asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm as she meticulously worked on a jagged edge. Stanley looked up, his brow furrowed. "It's not the filing, Helen, it's the breaking. Every time you break a nail, you swear loud enough to wake the dead. And Karen just got here